Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tyler from the Keep Pounding podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully, technical difficulties don't happen again, but we'll see. Okay, so hope you guys are having a good week so far. We are 1 week away from the NFL draft, so technically 8 days right now, but probably by the time you see this, it'll be 1 week from today. So I'm excited. There's a lot of different ways that the Panthers can go. We'll dive into it in a little bit, but I want to go over basically the things that Dan Morgan went over during his press conference the other day, and also why private visits matter. We're going to dive into a little bit, but private visits do matter, and we're going to go into some of those private visits a little bit later. But I do want to first dive into and talk about Dan Morgan's press conference. He pretty much said things that we all expected for him to say, but he also said some things that I thought were interesting. So I want to kind of dive into that. And then, guys, if you are new to the channel, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are about the draft. Who is your guy that you want us to draft in the first round? Who do you think we're to go? Do you think it's going to be offensive tackle? Could it be another receiver? Could it be a tight end? There's a lot of different variables, different ways that we can go. But as this is one of those drafts that I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm along for the ride. Okay, so one thing I want to get into that I saw earlier today, I thought was kind of funny and interesting, but I did want to talk about this was Nick Scott. This is per Joe Person that I saw on Twitter, but per Nick Scott, during free agency, he said, as those signings were happening, talking about during free agency when we were signing Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd, said, as those signings were happening, I was still a free agent and playing a little hard to get. But once I saw those guys rolling it, I was talking to my agent like, hold on, maybe let's go ahead and reach back out to the Panthers. It looks like it could be a fun season, a good defense. That was exciting to see those guys. It's definitely motivated me and my decision to come here. And I get to an extent, right? So, of course, like, we had a top 15. The Panthers had a top 15 defense last year. And then also you're adding big playmakers to the defense. You're adding Jalen Phillips, an edge rusher that we absolutely needed. But then you also added Devin Lloyd. We needed an inside linebacker. Christian Roseman was liability and coverage. So they attacked those needs, and you pretty much the only person that you're missing on the defense is A'Shawn Robinson. A'Shawn Robinson is the only one that they weren't able to re-sign, but obviously Dan Morgan mentioned during his press conference that it was a business decision. They loved A'Shawn. Unfortunately, he went to the division rival, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But otherwise, your defense is pretty much the same and with added improvements. But what I thought was funny is he was saying he was playing hard to get. Like again, I said this in my last stream. You can do a lot better, worse than Nick Scott, but you can get a lot better too. Like, he's not the worst safety in the world, but you can improve. And I'm sure there might be a team or two out there that was, may have asked for his services. I can't imagine it was that many, to be honest. So I thought it was funny. It was like saying I'm playing hard to get, kind of like, I'm not trying to be mean, but what if a big, huge fat girl is like, hey, like, I'm just playing hard to get. I'm single because I'm playing hard to get when nobody wants you. That's kind of how I felt when I read this. So I thought that was funny. I wanted to share that with you guys. But again, the NFL draft is 1 week away. So obviously April 23rd, it's on a Thursday. I think it starts at 5. But we have a first round pick, second round pick, third round pick, a fourth, 2 fifths, one from Miami, and then our original one, and round 6. So obviously the first round is Thursday, the day 2, round 2 and 3 on the day 2 on Friday, and on day 3, April 25th on a Saturday, it's round 4 through 7. So again, with the draft, I don't see that much movement going on with the Panthers. I don't really see us moving that much as far as the first round. Now, we've historically been top 10 since Dan Morgan's been GM, right? We've let's see, I know last year we were 8. The year before that, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure historically been top 10, picking the top 10. So one, it's a little bit easier to predict. Like this year, I'm not sure exactly. There's rumors, and we'll kind of get into it a little bit. But the Panthers can literally go any direction. Like there's always somebody that falls in the draft. So the Panthers can literally go any direction. But prior years, you kind of knew where your flaws were. There were some blue chip players, and have a good idea. Like, okay, it's going to be this person or this person. Last year, 50% of the fan base wanted Jalen Walker. The other 50% wanted Tedderell McMillan. This year, people all over the place because they're picking at 19. There's a lot more chips that have to fall in order to get to our pick. So it makes sense that it's a little bit harder to predict. But I still don't think that the Panthers, Dan Morgan and Brand Tillis, are going to trade up. He did say that's a possibility, but I just don't think you'll see that much movement just on the history of how they've handled the first round. Out in the second round, every single year they've moved up in the second round to pick up a guy that's dropped or that's been high on their board, right? So Nick Scorton, Princely, Trevin Wallace, I believe Jonathan Brooks. So they move up in the second round. They're very active in the second round, but in the first round, not so much. And it makes sense because it's expensive to move in the first round unless a blue chip player falls to us, like maybe a Ruben Bain, or Caleb Downs. Maybe, you draft up for one of those guys, but there's not that many blue chip players in this year's draft. Now, I want to go over and talk about Dan Morgan's press conference. So again, there wasn't really anything new that he said. He said the things that we all anticipated for him to say, right? He talked about how they're prepared for anything that happens at pick 19, that there's always a player that falls, that their main approach is still best player available. They're not locking themselves into any one position. And he mentioned, and I agree, free agency really hasn't given them a lot of flexibility going into the draft. Now, obviously, he's mentioned this plenty of times that they're looking for not just a good player, but work ethic, passion for the game, character, right? But he mentioned a few other things. So he talked about Bryce Young picking up his 5th-year option. Mike K did ask him, why wait? And so his response was, he's not in the building. After the draft, once he's in the building, we'll sign him. And I think that's pretty standard, but I also feel like that, to me, one logical explanation could be too, just in case he doesn't get hurt, like you're closing that window of a possibility, like maybe there could be an injury, like he had a slip and fall. I don't know. Those are other reasons that pop in my head as to why you wouldn't sign him to his 5th-year option if if that's the case. Because for me, if I can sign my 5th-year option and guarantee me, get that money, I'll go to the facility and sign it real quick for you. So, and I get they're in draft mode right now, but those are some things I kind of read between the lines, but it could be nothing. But he also talked about talking about the offense and Bryce Young. He talked about how he wanted to add playmakers, but not just add wide receiver. He did say, and he was asked, would you actually pick up another wide receiver back to back years? And pretty much said there's not a rule that says that you can't do that. And obviously there isn't. But it just, and we'll kind of go into, my thoughts in a minute, but it could be a wide receiver, but it could also be a running back. It could be a tight end, a playmaker on defense. So they're just looking to add a playmaker at that 19th pick. Now, he was asked about some takeaways as far as like his thoughts on certain positions in the draft. So he mentioned how this is a deep wide receiver class. Obviously that he said, as I mentioned before, that they're open to drafting another one. But I do, in my opinion, think this is more of a smokescreen. I don't think that this is, you never know. If there's a top wide receiver they have on the board that just falls, like a Malachi Lemon or something like that, Carnell Tate, sure, that makes sense. But I think this is more smokescreen. And the Panthers did a great job last year. They didn't really have to develop the smokescreen. Us fans and the media, everyone had them picking a defensive player. So they just allowed us to believe that. And, again, half the fan base wanted us to pick up T-Mac, but it was the consensus among everybody in the media that we were going to take a defensive player. So I do think they were doing a little smokescreen with this. But if the Panthers do pick up a wide receiver in the first round, XL will not be on the team. I can't see any reason to keep him on the team, because that puts the rookie wide receiver at least a wide receiver 3. He's not taking over wide receiver 1 with T-Mac. He's not taking over wide receiver with Jalen Coker, but now XL drops to maybe 4th wide receiver. And I just think that there could be teams out there, especially with injuries during mini camp, training camp, OTAs, that someone could be wide receiver hungry and we can make a trade. He's got the 5th-year option still. We drafted him in the first round several years ago. So he still has time on his rookie deal. That could be enticing for a team that maybe they think they could develop him. So, but again, if the Panthers pick up a wide receiver in the first round, XL is done with the Carolina Panthers. Book it. But what this also tells me too, if they pick up a wide receiver, is I think it's going to be more of a pass first offense than a running offense. If you pick another wide receiver, again, like the more weapons, the better for Bryce Young, right? I get that. But also, I feel like there's a lot of other needs. You have, I think, left tackle is a long-term solution you need to figure out. Maybe even guard, with Robert Hunt, you're paying Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt top money. Robert Hunt got hurt last year. Damian Lewis is outperforming his contract. And maybe you get cheaper getting a guard and release Robert Hunt after the year. Like, there's other things that they can do: safety, nickel corner, cornerback. You got Mike Jackson on his final year. You can obviously more edge rushers. You could do that. Interior defensive lineman. We let go of Ashawn Robinson. Maybe you could use another running mate along Derek Brown. So there's a lot of possibilities, but I think there's other needs outside of wide receiver. Now, again, I preached that you don't pick needs, or you shouldn't. With best player available, I say that you shouldn't pick based on needs, but a part of it is that, in a way where there's analytics as far as obviously who's the better player, is that position a high value, and is that person going to get playing time, right? So, like, you're not going to pick at a quarterback, right? Because quarterback, you have Bryce Young, right? They're not going to play even if it's the best player available. But what's up, Zulu King? How you doing, my friend? Welcome to the pod. What's going on? But my point is that you're not, like, a part of it is position, but a part of it is too, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is it doesn't necessarily it has to be the first round pick has to be immediate impact. You want it to be an immediate impact, but it doesn't necessarily be that. It may be a little bit of a developmental thing, which Dan Morgan hinted, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I just don't see them picking a wide receiver. Tight end is something that he mentioned, as far as there's some top guys there. They're more, he did say they're kind of top heavy, but he did mention that there was good depth in the later rounds. You have Kenyon Sadiq that's been linked to us via mock drafts. There's been reports of Oscar Delp that we've been reportedly high on out of Clemson, tight end out of Clemson, and that he's more of a round 2 selection. So that, there's those possibilities. Defensive tackle, he talked about how it was more top heavy as well. I believe there's like a couple players like Peter Woods, maybe Caden McDonald, but I think Peter Woods is like that value at 19. That kind of matches. So there's that possibility there. But I think if you wouldn't get Caden McDonald at 19, I think you would trade back. But I think there's one or two players maybe that they would pick up at 19. But Peter Woods is the only one that I can think of. He talked about offensive line, secondary, not really forcing anything. It just depends on the value. So offensive line, you have Francis Maigia, Spencer Fanu, Caleb Lomu, Monroe Freeling. Those are some guys that potentially could be available or that could fall to us, and we could possibly pick up. Francis Maigia is more of a he's a Miami guard / offensive tackle. He can play both. Spencer Fanu, he's more right tackle, but he can also play inside a little bit as well. He's practiced a little bit on center. Caleb Lomu, he's a left tackle, but he's more of a project kind of guy. And Monroe Freeling has been mocked to us a lot too. So, like, there's some players there that I see that we could possibly pick up at offensive line. But the main picture is what he's saying during this press conference is they're still building, but they believe they're competing to win now. But the other thing I wanted to get into was Dan Morgan responding to Dave Canales' stance on not viewing day one and day two picks as depth selection. So I wanted to play this video for you.
I think, I understand what Coach is saying in terms of obviously you want your first round pick to be able to come in and contribute immediately. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of with them on that. You want your first round pick to play, but there's different scenarios to where maybe it takes a guy a little longer to develop. They may not contribute right away, but um, with some of the picks at different positions, it may take a little longer for those guys to develop for sure.
Okay, so this is a video courtesy of Mike K. So thank you, Mike K. But he pretty much agrees, but I think he also disagrees with Dave Canales. But to me, what he's saying is, in my opinion, depending on the position, that player may not be able to start right away. So positions where they may not be able to, like, for example, we talked about Spencer Fanu. That would be a guy that he's a pure right tackle. Again, I mentioned that he can play inside and he's also practiced a little bit of center, but you have Taylor Moton. He has one more year left. This is probably going to be his last year. And he's one of the most solid right tackles in the league. He's not going to replace Taylor Moton, but if we can maybe have him play center or play depth at guard, but he's more of the long-term right tackle. That's what I think he's trying to say. Like that's an example. What if they sign a left tackle like Caleb Lemieux? Rasheed Walker could beat him out in camp, but Caleb Lemieux is more, again, he's more of a project, but he has high upside. That's what I think that's an example of what he's talking about, where he agrees where you want the first round pick to contribute, but that may not necessarily be the case. Cornerback could be another position where you have obviously JC Horn, no one's going to replace him, and you have Mike Jackson, who played at extremely high level last year, but maybe you get a top cornerback, but they may not start right away because Mike Jackson's playing at a high level, right? Maybe they play, maybe you get a guy that's going to be your future cornerback too, alongside JC Horn, but that person can maybe play big nickel, or Evero can play him versatilely different ways. Guard is something where we need to get younger at offensive line. Again, we talked about how Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis we're paying them top money, and no guard in the draft is going to beat these guys out in camp, obviously, unless there's an injury. But we need to get younger at that position. Again, that's something where they may not be able to contribute right away, but it's something that we keep a strength. Now, there's also positions where they probably would start. So you have wide receivers. So if we take a wide receiver, like if we take a Casey Concepcion, like he's been linked to us a lot recently, and I think again it's just smoke, but he's more of a guy that he would start wide receiver 3 immediately. He's going to replace XL, and that puts XL in a spot where he's probably off the team. Free safety. If we pick up like a Caleb Downs, that won't happen. But if we did, or you have a Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon, and that player is probably going to beat out Nick Scott. Inside linebacker, say for some reason Sonny Styles drops, he won't last at 19, or even a Jacob Rodriguez. People have him linked at 19 way too early, by the way, in my opinion. But those are players that can beat out Trevor Wallace. So there's certain players at certain positions where they would be able to start rather quickly. In other positions, it's more of a long-term approach. So that's what I got from that. That press conference. That was the main thing that I saw Dan Morgan talk about, where he kind of agreed, but he disagreed with Dave Canales. Now, I mentioned earlier that top 30 visits matter, private visits matter. So my buddy Edgar posted this on Twitter not too long ago and did some good quality research. And I think this is a big piece of information that we need to take with us and know going into the draft. So he said, ever since Dan Morgan joined the Panthers front office, 10 of the 11 Carolina's day 1, day 2 picks, so that's round 1, 2, and 3, they reported a pre-draft private visit with the team. And when I did research, they did that for Nick Scorton. So every single person, round 1, 2, and 3, we have been Hello. Oh, there we go. Okay. My internet's so bad. Okay. But pretty much we need to pay attention to the rounds 1, 2, and 3. So what I did was, let me actually, before I get to it, what I want to get into is basically I want to be able to get into all these picks, rounds 1, 2, and 3. I want to be able to talk about these and go over every one of these guys, because these are potential guys that we could possibly draft. Now, some of the things that I'm hearing reporting wise is, again, we talked about this earlier about Oscar Delp being us interested in him, but we already talked about this. Let me skip over that. But let's go. I want to talk about all the visits. These are players that we're going to go over in order per PFSN rankings. Who is the highest from round 1, 2, and 3, and go over these players as far as where they're ranked, what positions they are, who they are, and what their strengths and weaknesses are. So this is the list that I helped add to. So I took Edgar's list. So thank you, Edgar, again. I appreciate it. But added to this as the I forget the guy's name on Twitter. That I want to find this guy because he's done a really good job with reporting all the. Let's see, his Twitter is Panthers Breakdown. So it's Panthers Break D. He's pretty much been reporting all the news as far as reported news is what players are coming to see the Panthers for a private visit. So this is through Edgar and also Panthers News. So appreciate it, guys. So let's go into some of the potential prospects that we could have. Crosses fingers, draft safety, rid the team of the. I have something special for you, Darkness, a little bit that I think you're really going to like. I think keep your fingers crossed, but there is potential. Okay. So we have been linked. We had a visit with Tennessee's cornerback, Jermod McCoy. So I want to get into one of the more. This is a very intriguing cornerback prospect in this draft. McCoy, he has a very high upside guy with some. He's got boom, but he's got bust, but not because of his skill set. But what he does really well is this is an elite man coverage corner. He's got really good hips. He's smooth foot. He has very smooth footwork and the kind of athleticism you can't really teach. This guy is just a freak athlete. At his pro day, he ran a 4.38 and a 38-inch vertical at 6'1" and 188 pounds. This is the typical size and speed for an outside corner. Now, you turn on the 2024 tape, this guy is the top corner in the NFL draft this year. He posted an 89.6 PFF coverage grade, which ranked him 9th in the entire FBS. His production was high. He had 4 picks, 9 pass breakups that season. And it's not just how the dude is obviously athletic, but he has really good ball skills. He has really good instincts that show up consistently. And then over the last 2 seasons between Oregon State and Tennessee, he's had a total of 6 picks and 16 pass breakups. He reads routes extremely well. He stays in phase and knows how to make plays on the ball. And he's very lengthy. He's got a 77-inch wingspan, which really helps him compete on the outside and disrupt at the catch point. Now, the areas that I have a concern with this guy is the biggest one is his injury. So if you're not familiar, he missed the entire 2025 season last year with the torn ACL. That's always a red flag, especially for a position that obviously relies on heavy change of direction and explosiveness. Then there's the physicality and coverage. He is polished, but against the run, it is a little inconsistent. You'll see him shy away from contact at times, or he'll go for shoulder hits instead of wrapping up. But for the most part, this guy, he's a CB1. Now, JC Horn, like you have 2. I think if Evero had Jermod McCoy and JC Horn, I think you would see him play a little bit more man coverage. But The other issue I did have about this guy is he can get a little grabby down the field. So watching his tape, when he would get beat, he did have the tendency to panic and he had quite a few holding penalties back in 2024. And the sample size is a little limited. But that 2024 season tape, man, is just the real deal. He is. He's definitely going to be a top 20 pick in my opinion. I don't really see him dropping or being dropped further than that. But this is a player that we brought in, had a private meeting, but it could very well just be a medical to see if there's any degeneration there. How's the knee? How's his explosiveness? So I think they probably want to get a good look at this guy. So if this is somebody that could possibly drop to 19, and if he can stay healthy, that's great. The only thing that concerns me is obviously the knee, but having two cornerbacks with knee injuries. So this is somebody that's the highest ranked out of all the people that we've met so far is Gerard McCoy. He is ranked 14th overall on the board. Now, another player that we met with was Utah's offensive tackle, Caleb Lemieux. So Caleb, he actually met with him today. So this guy is highly athletic. He's a very, very high athletic offensive tackle. He's 6'6", 313 pounds. And he pretty much projects as a potential top tier left tackle at the next level. He's viewed as a high draft pick. He could be top 15, but they pretty much have him between 15 to 27 but he's still a guy that we talked about before that is a bit of a developmental prospect. The first thing you look at when you see him on tape is his athleticism. He has very quick feet. He's really good with lateral movement and can handle both speed and power rushers in space. In pass protection, he's very efficient. He only allowed 2 sacks last year with 800 plus snaps and 24 starts. That's very solid. And he fits really well in a zone heavy scheme, which is what we have. He gets to the second level. He mirrors rushers very smoothly. He's still young. There's a lot of untapped upside with his frame and athletic profile. But the concerns start with play strength. He's a bit lean for the NFL right now, and he needs to add a little bit more mass, in my opinion. In the run game, he's still kind of inconsistent. He's athletic, but he's not always clean with his leverage or finishing blocks. Technique-wise, he's still developing. Hand timing has been inconsistent and can come and go. And overall, he's more of a developmental transition. He may need some time before he's fully handed the left tackle position. And again, this is somebody that fits what Dan Morgan mentioned earlier at his press conference was someone that you can take that may not impact the and play right away. But this is a guy that has very high upside potential, but you're pretty much betting on his traits, his athleticism, his movement, his pass protection ability. But in my opinion, he's a really good left tackle. He's someone that I would not be mad about us getting at 19. Not at all. But he's definitely a day one guy. And to me, he's long-term starter potential. So that's another guy that we met with, but we talked to him today. Another guy we talked to, some of the wide receivers. So Amar Cooper out of Indiana. So this guy, he's 6 foot, 204 pounds. He had 69 receptions for 937 yards and 13 TDs. He has decent speed. He runs a 4.42. He's excellent after the catch. He does have that running back build mentality where he can break tackles very well. He navigates traffic very well. He does have strong hands. He's comfortable in traffic. He has a very low drop rate and high contested catch success. He's a decent route runner. He was primarily used in the slot. So again, this is someone that we would use as wide receiver 3. He doesn't move quite. He's not going to be a true number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion. I don't think he has that. He doesn't move quite as dynamic as a wide receiver 1, but he can be a really good wide receiver 2 or slot guy. He reminds me a little bit of DJ Moore as far as the physicality after the catch. He's not overly explosive, but he has very quick acceleration speed. He is someone that you can target for short, intermediate routes. You can target him down the field. But this is a guy that I think would definitely outperform XL, and he would be a good quality player at the offense. But again, I think he's more of a guy that I just don't think that they're going to go the route at wide receiver, but I could be wrong. But one of the guys that a lot of people have us linked to is Texas A&M wide receiver Casey Concepcion. So He's a junior. He's actually from Charlotte. He went to Chambers High School there. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He runs a 4.42 as well, and he's projected, mid late first round. Pro, projection. He's projected to be a first, mid first, late first round pick. But to me, he had pretty consistent production out of NC State and Texas A&M. He broke out pretty early as a true freshman at NC State. You can play him outside. You can play him in the slot. He can be a return specialist. He does have rare explosiveness. He did average 7.3 yards after the catch. So this is a yak guy that you're looking for that the Panthers could use. He can go up and get the ball. He can make guys miss, and he has the ability to break tackles as well. But the main concern I have with this guy is his drops. He had quite a few drops. He had 19 drops and 186 catches, which is pretty high. But from what I saw, the reports I'm seeing is primarily due to him ready to run before he secures the catch. The more concentration drops. But I think he's not as physical as Omar Cooper, but still has that yards after catch playmaking ability. So this is somebody that reportedly the Panthers are pretty high on. A lot of people are really like him over Omar Cooper. To me, like, they're very similar players. To me, if Casey Concepcion can fix the drops, I like him a little bit better. But because of the drops, I'm not trying to draft another XL. I want a guy that has low percentage of drops, which is Omar Cooper. And I think that's why he has dropped a little bit. The drops are, to me, a little bit of a concern there. Another wide receiver that we met with was Denzel Boston. So Denzel Boston, he played for Washington. He's a taller receiver. He's 6'4", 212 pounds. He didn't run the 40 at the combine, but it's for a good reason. He's not a fast runner, but he's not slow either. Boston, he really excels at the 50-50 balls and can dominate corners on the outside. He's a red zone threat. He is a natural catcher with a low drop rate. He only dropped 4 total drops in 4 years. I like him better. To me, he has the same skill set as Jalen Coker and T-Mac. I like him overall, like as a prospect. I like him better than I do Casey Concepcion because of he just looks like a consistent wide receiver. He is a really good fluid route runner. He has great bursts out of his break. He's a good run blocker as well. Obviously, his size. He doesn't, again, obviously have elite speed. He's not a big yard after catch guy. But to me, this guy, like, he's not really, even though we saw him for a private visit, this isn't really, in my opinion, a wide receiver that the Panthers looking at right now, because we have that in Jalen Coker and T-Mac. But this is a guy that could possibly be, in my opinion, can be an X wide receiver for another team. He's someone that can win outside. I think he will be one out of 6 wide receivers that'll be drafted, but I think it'll be more mid first round. Another guy that they interviewed was Arizona's offensive tackle Max Ian Akor. So this guy is one of the most fascinating prospects in this class, in my opinion. He's to me, this is a guy that's traits versus technique type of player, and there's a lot to unpack with this guy. So first off, it's his athleticism that jumps off the screen for me. This is a former soccer basketball player who didn't even start playing football until 2021. And you can see that background and how he moves. He's got great lateral quickness, smooth feet, and the ability to mirror speed rushers at a high level. Production-wise, he really, really did well last year. As a full-time starter, he allowed 0 sacks on a high volume of pass sets. The Arizona loved to throw the ball. And to me, that's a big-time stat and shows already he has the foundation to be a reliable pass protector. Physically, he checks everything. He's 6'6", 320 pounds. He's got 34.5 inches long arms. He's a really thick, powerful build. He's got the size to anchor against power and length to keep defenders off his frame. And the big thing here is his upside. Because he's so new to football, his growth has been rapid. You're looking at a guy whose best football is clearly ahead of him. He's flashed some in the run game, especially during Senior Bowl. He's got strong hands, ability to generate push, and a bit of a nasty demeanor, that you like to see in your offensive lineman. But on the flip side of this guy, the inexperience does show on tape. Technically, he's still pretty raw. His hand usage can be very inconsistent. His timing can be off at times. He does have a tendency to lunge, which can lead to missed blocks. His hand placement is another issue. He'll get wide and expose his chest. And so his technique needs to be developed a little bit more. But this is somebody that plays with an aggressive play style. He can, that can lead to some penalties. He's had some discipline issues that'll need to be cleaned up at the next level as far as that's concerned. But this is someone that right now I view him as a late first round, early second round type of prospect. Most teams sees him as a developmental starter. That's why I think he would be at an offensive tackle. But this is somebody that we won't pick up at 19, but if we trade back or if we moved up for a tackle, this is someone that we possibly could get. So, he's not a finished product by any means, but the traits are there. But if there's a team that's going to be patient and can clean up the technique, Gilbert, I think, can do that. You could be looking at a long-term cornerstone at right tackle. And this guy is a physical freak, dude. He's insane. Another player that they picked up was Texas A&M's inside linebacker Chase Besantos. I'm going to butcher all these names. I'm sorry. But this guy, so this is where you're getting more into the interior offensive lineman. This guy, this is where you can still get good starters in the second round. So let's talk about Chase. He's, to me, one of the more polished interior offensive linemen in this year's draft. He is a high level pass protector for an interior guy. He has really good feet, smooth hips. He marries defenders really well. The production backs it up too. Only a 1 sack last year. In the run game, he's extremely physical. This guy is a guy who can move people off the ball, especially on double teams. He plays with a strong base, low center of gravity, and can really control defenders at the point of attack. But another big plus for him is his versatility. He came into college as a right tackle, started all 13 games as a freshman, and then transitioned inside a left guard where he's been doing really well since. So this is someone that can play left guard, also can play right tackle. And that's something that I think the Panthers, this could be someone that we could pick up. Someone that it can be a day two starter, that can be a starter on day two, when they pick rounds second, 2 and 3. But this is somebody that you can get on the offensive line that has versatility and that can be a cornerstone and be a long-term answer at the offensive line position and get cheaper as well, cheaper and younger. But another, we talked about his versatility, the flexibility, obviously that adds a ton of value. In tight spaces, he's very effective. He's very quick. Has efficient hands. He has good placement. He's able to win early in reps, controlling pass rushers right off the snap. But there's the experience. He's had over 1,800 snaps in the SEC, 3 years of starting. This guy has been playing against top-notch teams his whole career and has done really well. Now, with all that, there are some things he needs to clean up. Hand usage can be inconsistent at times. He gets a little wide with his placements. That obviously, he's had some holding penalties because of that, and that ties into a broader discipline issue. In my opinion, he's had 16 penalties over the last 2 seasons, so that's something NFL teams will want to tighten up. But that's what comes with a player that plays with aggressive play style. There are reps where he'll overextend or overshoot his target, especially when working in space. Physically, his arm length is a slight concern. I know some people don't like that, but to me, arm length doesn't mean anything to me. But Matt Rule, for some reason, it did. But arm length has been a red flag that some teams have brought up. He measures on the lower end compared to other linemen. But this is a guy, again, very powerful. I think he can be a key piece on an offensive line, and someone that I think realistically can step in and play day one as a guard in the NFL. He's extremely experienced, physical, and he has good. I think he has really good technique that could still develop, but he's someone that can come in and play day one. Let's go, Dom. How you doing? Let's go. Keep pounding. Another player that I'm actually excited about that we brought in as well is LSU's safety AJ Halsey. So this guy is a massive physical human being. So he's a really smart safety. That's what I think what he's known for, just like a very smart player. He's very pro ready. Um, this guy has elite ball skills. So he's a natural ball hawk. If you watch his film, this guy reads the QBIs extremely well and has production, really good production. 15 pass breakups, 7 interceptions entering his final year. This past season, he had 3 interceptions, 88 tackles, and 4 pass breakups. The guy weighs 20 pounds. He's built like a linebacker, and he is not afraid to crash the box, blow up run plays at the line of scrimmage. He's very versatile. He can cover well, but also you can put him, like I said, in the box, just like Mulrick. He's durable and consistent, playing at a high volume for 3 straight years. The concerns is his speed and recovery. He does lack the long speed. If a vertical receiver gets behind him, he doesn't have the speed to catch up. He can be stiff in the hips. He can struggle with fluid movement and man-to-man coverage. If he's mismatched, or if he's matched up one-on-one with shifty slot receivers, it is a mismatch. He's more of a zone guy. This is a guy that would thrive in Evero's system, but he's not someone that you would want to play man-to-man with. Tackling, he does hit hard. He's more of a shoulder tackler. I did see that quite a bit in his film. He does need to learn to wrap up consistently to avoid giving up extra yards in the NFL. I discipline because he's so hungry for interceptions. You can see he wants to make that play. He can be baited by play action and misdirection. But this guy's just more of a physical, box-heavy ball hawk. He's best suited, again, I talked about zone-heavy defense where he can keep his eyes on the quarterback rather than playing man-to-man. And to me, this guy's a day 2 pick, someone that the Panthers could definitely pick in round 2, and that could definitely beat out Nick Scott at that safety position. So that's another player that we had a private visit with. Another player was Tennessee's wide receiver, Chris Brazel, that we met earlier this week. So Chris, though, this is a very high upside Z receiver with, to me, rare physical tools. A guy some people think could develop into a true wide receiver one. But it's just his size and speed combo is rare. He's 6'5", he runs a 4.3. That's insane. So this is a guy that you could still throw up and get the ball, but he's a burner. But 6'5", 200 pounds, runs a 4.37. To me, that's a mismatch nightmare. He's got a huge catch radius, can win down the field, and is a legit vertical threat. One of the biggest improvements that he made last year was his ball security. He cleaned up the drops in a big way. He only had 2 drops last year with 99 targets. He's also more polished than you'd expect for a tall wide receiver. Very fluid hips, can sink into routes, and can run more than just go balls. So that he can run a lot of, he has a very good route tree. Off the line, he's a solid release package. Using his hands well, mixes it up against press, and the production showed up. Big playability all year, including there's a game against Georgia that he had a big touchdown for. But for a guy that's 6'5", he doesn't play that way. That's the biggest red flag that I found on tape with him is he doesn't play physical at times. He does lack that consistent physicality. He struggles at times against press, doesn't always win with strength. But the big one is the contested catches. You'd expect him to dominate there because he's 6'5", 200 something pounds, but the numbers say he's more 50-50. You know, he was 7 for 17 back in 2025 for contested catches. So that's something that, again, he's a mismatch nightmare, but he needs to clean those things up and improve. And again, Canales is the wide receiver whisperer and also a QB whisperer. So maybe he could make this guy, a future wide receiver too. About he's also more of a long strider, not super twitchy, which can limit what he can do after the catch, in my opinion. His frame was kind of small, but for the Panthers, this is to me like a guy that would come in and play wide receiver 3. And again, you don't have to get a guy in the first round. This is someone you can get in the second or third round, possibly, and still get a good wide receiver. So if you're looking for a vertical threat, with size to stretch the field, this is the guy that you're going to want to get, but he's going to need to get stronger and more consistent with contested catches. But again, he's more of a day 2 pick. Pull up here. Okay. Arizona, this is a guy that, dude, I could totally see us get him. This is one of my, I always have a NFL crush, and this is one of the guys. Traden Stukes. This guy, I really, really like this guy. Like these aren't my power rankings. To me, Traden Stukes is going to be a very early second round pick, but hey, if you can get him in the second or third round, great. But this is a guy that he's a really, really, he's an experienced guy. He can play safety or nickel. He's coming off a really good season last year, bouncing back from an ACL injury he had the year prior. But the biggest thing that stands out for me is his zone coverage and ball skills. He's got really, really good instincts. He brings the court. He does read the quarterback very well. That did show up. He had 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups last year. He's a very smart player. Team captain, communicates well. You can tell he understands the game at a very high level. He's very physical. He brings some pop as a tackler, and he ran a 4.33. So he's got legit speed. And when you look at the production, a 90 plus PFF coverage grade, you're talking about a guy getting legit. Like this guy should be, in my opinion, early second round. I would be shocked if we're able to get him in the second round if we stay where we're at. But this is someone I would like for the Panthers to move up and get. There were some concerns. He is 24. He's going to be 24 as a rookie, so teams might see that as a lower long-term ceiling. Obviously, the ACL tear that we talked about back in 2024, but so reportedly his medical's been clear, checking out pretty well. And role-wise, he's a bit of a scheme-specific guy. Probably not an outside corner. You're looking at more of a nickel or safety role, which is what we need. Tackling can be inconsistent. He'll come in high at times. He can get caught biting on double moves. But this is a guy that's versatile. He's smart and can play that nickel role that, hey, Shaw Smith-Wade, move on over. Move on over, Shaw Smith-Wade, because this guy is 100% a big upgrade. But he's, again, more of a zone heavy system guy where he can use his instincts, but you're not going to leave him on an island. But overall, like he's not a perfect prospect, but definitely a guy who could come in and contribute early at the safety or corner or nickel position. But some analysts, they did have him some as ranked as a 4th round pick, but I don't think he will stay. He's not going outside 3rd round. I don't know. Like you listen to some analysts that some people have it at round 2 to round 4. In my opinion, like this, like it wouldn't surprise me if he went early 2nd round, but I think he's more of a mid 2nd round guy. But this is someone I think the Panthers could move up to get. So that is Arizona safety Traden Stukes. Another guy we picked up was the Iowa defensive tackle Dominique Orange. I forget what his nickname they called him in Iowa State. Big Citrus. That was his nickname, Big Citrus. But this guy is a true nose tackle type of prospect. So he's a big body interior guy built to stop the run. He's coming into the 2026 draft as more of a plug and play early down defender. First thing for me that jumped off was his size and strength that jumped off the screen. This guy is 6'3", 325 pounds to 335. He's a legit weight room monster. He benched 450. He squatted 650. He can power clean 365. This dude is a physical freak. He's exactly what you want at that nose tackle position. Against the run, he's a true anchor. He eats up double teams. He does hold his ground in A gaps. He clogs everything inside. And he also, like, what surprised me the most on tape was he's very quick for his size. He has a very good first step. He has very good active hands, can shoot gaps and create some disruption. And the motor that I see on this guy really stands out. He plays a lot of snaps for a guy his size, and he does not wear down. Like, this is a guy, like, he kind of reminded me of the Robert Hunt type of a vocal guy. Very physical guy, very vocal leader type of player. But the motor really stood out for me. He was 3rd team all Big 12 last year. He started all 12 games. The biggest thing, the only concern I really had for him, or a couple, was he's not going to be your pass rush guy, right? You're going to get very little to no pass rush. He only had one career sack in 50 games. So you're not going to get any interior pressure. But so he does have limited range. He's not a guy that's going to chase plays sideline to sideline. His tackling can be inconsistent. He did have a high missed tackle rate last year. Sometimes he overruns plays in the backfield. Technique wise, he can play a little bit too tight, which lets offensive linemen get under him and move him. But to me, this is more of a obvious run. It's you would put him in for running downs, basically. But if Dan Morgan and Dave Canales are looking for a true run stuffing nose tackle to plug in early downs, this guy fits. But you'd have to pair him with some pass rushers because he's not going to get any pass rush for you. But overall, like, this is more of a day 3 pick in my opinion. Day 2, early day 3. So like round 3, 4, somewhere around there between 3 and 5. But he can come in and immediately help your run defense, but it's just limited he has a very limited ceiling as a pass rusher. And then the last guy that we we met with was Oklahoma's wide receiver Dion Burks. So Dion, he's a very explosive wide receiver. He's smaller. He's a very dynamic playmaker who could play primarily at the slot or the Z. The first thing that jumps out is his speed, acceleration. This is a guy who can separate quickly. He can threaten defenses both in short and deep passes. He's a very solid, polished route runner. He has very sudden footwork, good tempo, knows how to create space. With the ball in his hands, he is dangerous. He's a run after the catch guy. He has that ability. That's his biggest strength. He can turn short gains into explosive plays. He also does a great job finding soft spots in zone. And he has really good body control along the sidelines. Even though he is smaller, he does on film. You can see he's got the little sneaky strength there. But he doesn't have big weight room numbers, but he's an extremely explosive wide receiver. Size concerns, like 5'9", 180, 90 pounds. Again, like, this is just somebody that you're not going to, put out on the X, but this is someone that you're going to play in the slot or on the outside next, along with, excuse me, T-Mac. Like, this is a burner that we need on the team. This is not outside of Jimmy Horn, we don't really have this on the team. His production can be a little inconsistent. He was really good back in 2023. The following year in 2024, he had some injuries, and then 2025 didn't really match the talent that we saw back in 2023. So he's kind of dropped in the rankings because of that. He's obviously not a contested catch guy. He did struggle in tight coverage and isn't someone you're throwing 50 balls to. But this is more of someone that you're looking, that you need that dynamic wide receiver in the slot that you can use for motion, getting the ball in space. To me, it would make a lot of sense. Kind of what they were wanting XL to do last year. This is what you would have Dion do, but he's not your traditional outside receiver. So this is more of a day 3 prospect, more in around the 5th, 6th round, but he does have that high upside as a playmaker. He could possibly return punts, kick return. So give that competition to Jimmy Horn. There's another guy that I can see us possibly pick up. So those are all the players that we saw that we picked up, or that we did we had for private visits. And again, this is important because the private visits we've shown, specifically rounds 1, 2, and 3, that we pick 100% of the time. Since we've had Dan Morgan, as I mentioned earlier, every player that we have seen that we've drafted, we saw on private visits. So these are players that we could definitely potentially see us drafting next week. But again, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Dom. I appreciate it. Darkness, appreciate it. But if you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm a small Panthers content creator trying to grow and just develop a platform and develop a chat that, as we get bigger, we can all talk and discuss these things. So I appreciate Dom and Darkness, you guys staying and talking football with me. So if you haven't, again, hit the like button, the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get in the comments. Let me know who you would like us to draft in rounds 1, 2, and 3. And again, I have no idea where we're going to go. Oh, and Darkness, I did forget. So there's a report by Daniel Jeremiah. I appreciate you, Dom. I appreciate you. Appreciate it. But there's a report by Daniel Jeremiah that the safety out of Oregon, Dylan Thieneman, now we haven't brought him in for a visit, but there's a lot of reports saying right now, according to him, that he's not getting past 19 if he's with the Panthers. If he's there for the Panthers, that he will either be a Viking, or which they pick at 18, or he's going to be a Panther. So there's been, and again, this can all be smoke screens. I really like Dylan Thieneman, and this can be a smoke screen, just like I think the wide receiver talk is smoke screens with Omar Cooper, Casey Concepcion, Tyson, all those guys. I don't think we'll pick a wide receiver. I think we need to get offensive tackle. Give me an interior defensive lineman. Give me a corner. Not tight end. Not tight end at 19. But there's a lot of report. I'm hearing more and more heat. And as you get closer to the draft, things become more real. But Daniel Jeremiah, who's, pretty trustworthy, that he thinks that if Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of LSU, is there at 19, that we'll pick him up. So I know that you're not a fan of Nick Scott, so I wanted to let you know that, Darkness. So that's for you. So just please get Nick Scott off this team. Like said in his interview, sold my view more. Dude can't care about the team. Yeah, I think he's a good dude. He had his golf was a charity golf tournament with Saquon Barkley. Jonathan Stewart was there. Great guy. You can get worse than Nick Scott. I get, he's not going to play another year after this year, but you could get worse. So thank you guys again. I appreciate it. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are about who you like us to draft in rounds 1, 2, and 3, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.